Warning, this video may contain some material that many parents may find unsuitable for children under the age of 14. We use Dremel tools, sharp objects, swear a lot, well, sometimes, and overall, anybody under the age of 14 shouldn't be watching this unless you have a parent with you. And if you do watch, I hope you enjoy it. Hey, it's Keith from Outlaw Speed Shop, and I'm tackling a mod rod, one ugly car. And I really hate this casting. I'm not sure where I got it. Somebody sent it to me or I bought it. I honestly don't remember. I kind of didn't think twice about it, but see everybody doing them, so I figured I'd throw my hat in the ring and see what I could come up with to make this not so fugly. And there's just so much about this car I don't like that I figured it would be a good opportunity to give it a whirl and see what I can do. As usual, if you guys like what you see, make sure you subscribe and ring the bell to get notified whenever I post something new. So taking this apart, it was fairly simple. It's a plastic base, metal body, and really there's not much to it. The posts come off real easy. Drilling it's real easy. It's pretty much the base, a one-piece interior that's all chrome. I know I'm not keeping the wheels at this point, regardless of what I do, and I have zero plan at this point. So I take those off. It's got these wings on the side. It's the best way I can, bat wings, I guess. I'm not really sure what their point is, but I want to get rid of those. The window is kind of pressed in, doesn't just fall out. You have to kind of pry it out a little bit because it's riding up on the post. So the thing that bothers me, one of the things, well, there's like 20 things that bother me about this, but one of the main ones, aside from those bat wings, is the roof. It's got no front A-pillars, and it looks like a Cylon helmet. It just is, I don't know, there's something about it that freaks me out. So to start with, I'm going to get rid of the bat wings and cut those with my Dremel tool. Then I'll sand them after and file them and make them nice and smooth because they really serve no purpose whatsoever. It's a rat rod. It's not supposed to need any kind of aerodynamic downforce whatsoever, and I'm not sure what its point was, but wanted to get rid of them. The roof goes through many phases here in my quest to make this thing not so ugly. I thought if I could cut it a certain way and kind of leave it almost like a half convertible and get rid of the front windshield part that has no pillars, that would satisfy my need to make this cool, because that is really what bothers me. Out of all the things, that's the biggest one. So I mark it out, I cut it with my Dremel tool. I still really don't like it at all. It's just creepy. So I decided to cut it a little bit further, figuring if I can blend it into the convertible top, or the soft top that it's supposed to have, I guess. I'm not really sure what it's supposed to be. That if I could kind of make it all just kind of flow together at that point as it swoops up from behind the seat, it would be okay. At this point I've got it. I'm going to cut the windshield so that only the back window really is left, because that's all I'm using. And you'll notice I kind of bounce back and forth between a Dremel tool, a jeweler's saw. I use various items. So the other thing that creeps me out, this is a 6-cylinder motor. It's a straight 6. I'm assuming this is a Ford, so it's like a 200 straight 6. Why there's 2 exhausts is beyond me. Exhaust would be on one side. If it was a V6, it'd be different. So I'm cutting off the Zoomy header off of the passenger side, and I'm only going to leave the driver's side, which is where it should be exhausting out from anyways. That actually works out really well. It's not symmetrical, so my OCD kicks in a little bit, but it's correct. At least, I mean, I'm seeing no signs of this being anything but a straight 6. So, and here you can see me kind of touching up the frame where I'd cut off the bat wings. No matter what I'm doing, I know I'm going to need to make axle tubes, so I'm cutting the plastic tabs off that held the original axles in place. They're kind of pointless at this point because with axle tubes, the diameter is much different. If you've seen me make them before, I pretty much cut them to length. Then I'll use a piece of axle tubing, which I think is, I'm going to screw it up, I think 0.035 piano wire, and I stick it inside the actual brass tube, and that allows me to cut the little grooves I'm going to use to put the glue in to hold the axles in. And it just kind of grind until you see sparks, and you know you've gone far enough, and you can pull it out, and you're good to go. Sometimes you have to clean it with a pick, but for the most part, that's all you need. So here it is, all complete as far as the axles go. With the wider axle tubes, you'll notice that I have to, a lot of the interiors you'll find on Hot Wheels anyways, the interior actually holds the axles down, even though they have tabs. So there's little U-grooves facing down, so I'm just kind of I'm whoring them out a little bit so that it allows enough room to fit over the brass tubing and not interfere and lift the interior up, which would make it a pain in the ass to put together. So now I'm going to prime everything, or at least the base and the interior. I mask off the parts that I don't want to paint. And at this point, I'm done. All I want to do is scuff the paint up, make it look a little bit more ratty, and call it a day. Didn't quite work out that way. As usual, I tend to take things a little further than needed. The roof was still bothering me. I slept on it. I was working on some other projects. You know, in here, one of the many times I do fitting, it just not working for me. So even though it's got the post that you'd screw to the base in the actual roof itself, it goes all the way through, and the window's tinted so you can't see it. I'm cutting it off. I can't take it. So I'm making a convertible out of it. Pretty simple at this point now. I'm starting to kind of dig it. The jeweler's saw did 90% of the work. I'm just going to use my file to make sure everything's flat and has a good clean surface for me to glue to, because I'm going to end up making a cover out of styrene. That you can see my little scrap pile that I keep everything. I don't throw anything away when it comes to styrene. You never know. See, this one's already got some holes in it. I was using to test something else when I was making an exhaust. So I'm able to actually, even though it's kind of a junk piece, I only need a small piece, so I'm able to use it. So pretty much I'll put it on there, I'll flip it upside down, I'll trace it out, trim it. I always trim large, and then I file or sand so that it fits nice and snug, because you can always cut it smaller, you can't cut it bigger. So I at this point, decided to strip the car, put it in the citrus strip overnight, got my brass wire wheel, and I'm going to clean up everything. And this is the time now where I can take that styrene piece I made and start fitting it in and doing whatever body work I need to do to make it look like it was part of the original casting. So I got some glue. I'm going to put the glue on, and then once the pieces sit inside nice and flush, the glue is dry, now it's time to do a little bit of body work. I got some glazing putty from the auto body shop that I've been using for a while. I've had this tube forever. So I'm going to use that, spreading it with my finger, then I'll kind of wipe it down with that flat piece of cardboard next to it, just to kind of squeegee it out and get it into all the nooks and crannies. And there isn't a lot, to be honest with you. Once it dries, I can sand it down. I end up doing this multiple times, because no matter how hard you try, there's always, I guess it depends on how fussy you are, but there's always some defect that you can see, a scratch or an imperfection that the glazing putty, or if you're using Milliput, doesn't fill. So I prime it while it's drying. I'm going to do all my detail work on the interior / front piece, the engine, all that stuff, using my Citadel paints. I use a combination of black, Eshin gray, blue, which I don't remember the color, for the valve cover. I use a little bit of gold. The Citadel paints are, obviously one of my favorite. I drill out the Zumi header. there's a casting line that actually runs right down the middle of it. That's another thing that kind of pisses me off. So I'm going to sand that smooth. I'm going to use a chrome pen to do that. So you can't see it even though I'm pointing it out. The gray primer is just a light gray, so it kind of blends right in. But this is like the third time that I'm doing this, and it's just down to a couple little spots. And the magic of video, that's it after it's been primed. I found this little Hot Wheels Roadster in my stash, and I measured it with a pair of verniers, and the window is exactly the same size of what I need. So that becomes my new Roadster window. My splash paints, I've got this dark aluminum. It's dark aluminum if you put it over a dark surface. Over a light surface, it becomes light. The splash paints are awesome. All I did was shake it up. I put it in the spray bar, airbrush, one more frickin' time. I'm on drugs, so you have to excuse me. I have a sciatic issue right now, and I'm all hopped up on CBD oil, Tylenol and everything else. So anyways, this stuff, like everything else, you put it on light the first couple coats just to get a tack coat down. Then after that, I've put this stuff on pretty heavy, and I haven't got it to run yet. So I mean, I'm sure I could if I tried really hard, but this stuff's really, really good, and it's a breeze to clean up. Literally takes seconds. So I've been really happy with the splash paint. I got my goggles for up close paint work. You can see in the picture. I'm going to do some detail work on the, there's not really much on the body. You get the headlights, or what appears to be headlights. I'm assuming that's what the Hot Wheels really wanted. I'm not 100% sure. They're headlights now. And then obviously the same thing everybody else and their brother does. You paint the straps brown. I'm using Xandri Dust, which is a lighter brown. I didn't want anything too contrasting with the silver paint or aluminum paint, but it's definitely silver. I'll do the belt strap buckles with a chrome pen afterwards, just to kind of make it pop just a smidge and stand out and have a little bit of texture. But these are all the pieces. I mean, really, in the end, there's really not a lot to this casting, so it works out really well. The wheels I didn't even have to glue in because the base or the interior holds it all together. Shout out to my Patreon members. Those with the YouTube icons next to them are linked down below. Please check them out. They help support my addiction, and it goes without saying that I appreciate it very much. This is the ugly POS that I started with in my hopes of trying to make it cool. This is what I ended up with. Stick around for the video and a bunch of pictures. See if you like it. If you do, let me know, and I'll catch you on the next one.